Hey, Ricky. Good morning. Good morning to all of you, and welcome to another live show. I'm Ron Reynolds, and today I'll be answering a bunch of questions, and I pull these questions from the community area on my YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/3dgameman, and I'll be going through those first, and then after that, I have some ideas here, and I think they'll be interesting. I'll push those forward. And I have some images and pictures to show you as well. Some pictures I took actually yesterday with the Canon R7. So some of you might be interested in that. I'll save that till the end. And this should be around 1 hour long. So thank you and for coming. Thank you for joining me. I hope you have some coffee, some tea, maybe a donut, maybe a banana, who knows, whatever you're into. I just had a banana and now I'm drinking some tea here, trying to at least. Didn't get up, but, well, maybe an hour or so ago. So I'm, trying to rest it up on the weekends. All right. So let's get right into this and start with the first question here. And this was proposed by a guy on our community, Terry, I think. Terry, I don't think he joins us many times in this live cast, but I think he might have asked me to post this question. If you have any questions or comments and stuff that you'd like to ask me about, go right ahead, or something that you'd think that would make a good poll question, let me know. I might entertain the idea if it's good. So, because every day I'm posting these questions, and they're great. We get a lot of great feedback from this and a lot of interaction on these questions. So that's a good thing. And by the way, if you have questions for me directly, you can certainly go ahead and ask them. I will be monitoring the chat here throughout the live broadcast. No personal questions, though. Sorry, none of that stuff's happening here. This is about basically tech, gaming, me solely, and that's it. So please respect that part of it. Okay, so let's go. Let's get started. So do you miss video game magazines? Now, this is a question that I would not have really ever thought of, because this was, again, proposed by one of our community members here, Terry. And but it's a good question. And I thought this poll really wouldn't do very well, and was posted actually, I think, a few hours ago, like at midnight or something, when I posted it. So but a lot of people are saying that, yeah, they miss gaming magazines. The questions were, yes, I certainly do. A little, yeah, not at all. And a lot of people miss video game magazines. Now, personally myself, I don't know about you guys, but I've never really I've never really, well, maybe once or twice, picked up some video games, some magazines for, based upon video games. I was never into that. I don't know why exactly. I never, maybe, I don't know, I don't know if this is an old guy thing or a young guy thing. I don't think the young guys are doing it anymore now, certainly, right? But maybe us old guys. I did pick up a few of them, but not many. I was never a magazine guy. Not really. Well, magazines or comics I was into, like the Hulk and all that stuff. But that was a very long time ago. Actually, I was doing that when there was no video games, so I had no choice. That was my video game then. Reading cartoon magazines was my video game. That was Pong, really. That was in high school. That was, wow, Pong. That was a long time ago, but after that, it was Commodore 64, even programmed some games into that. I don't know how many out there remembers Mission Impossible on the Commodore 64. Man, I thought that was one of the best games ever, and it was. It was a good game for its time. But yeah, never really got into the magazine side of it at all. Oh, and by the way, I should mention, this is definitely an Easter weekend, and happy Easter to everyone. So, do something Eastery. I'm sure the kids, if you have young kids, are loving this weekend. I remember when my kids were young, we had a lot of fun on Easter, and that was, I think Easter is basically for the kids these days, and if you're someone who goes to church and stuff as well, to do that as well, that's part of your weekend, I'm sure. But yeah, happy Easter. Happy Easter. It comes and goes, doesn't it? Every year flies by. If you see me pausing here during the live stream, looking away from the camera, it's because I am looking at some of the comments. Yep. Okay. So let's go on to the next one here. Why? Now this is going to be a good one. This is going to be a really good one. Why is gaming viewed so negatively? The questions are: misconceptions about the nature of gaming, concerns about violence or graphic content, fear of addiction, stereotypes about gamers, negative media coverage. Now, there's actually a pretty mixed bag here. It's like, overall, right? But mostly people, and I agree with this, it's stereotypes about gamers. And also, I think the media portrays gamers, as being, some kind of addicted, basement-dwelling, I don't know, psychopaths, kind of, that all they do all day is just, like they have blinders on and play games. Some gamers are like that, but some aren't. I'm not. I mean, I used to play more when I was younger, I suppose. Well, not younger, but whenever, Wolfenstein and Doom and Quake and all that stuff came out, obviously, 3D game man. So I played a lot of games back in the day. Kind of got away from it. I mean, life happens, right? So you can't always be gaming. And it's very important to do other things besides gaming, and it's important to have hobbies and all the rest of it. But for the most part, that will come along as you get older and older. So don't worry about it too much if you're younger and stuff and you game a lot. I mean, try not to. Try to get away. Try to do other things. Hopefully you have other hobbies and things. But as you get older, life just happens, and you can't always be, doing this. This is kind of a luxury in a way, right? Gaming, I always thought as it being some kind of, luxury. It's like a privilege. I really enjoyed it. I mean, for me, it takes me away for a moment, as long as it doesn't take you away and, the escape is not too much and it's too addictive and you can't get out of it. But it's something to look forward to every other day. And I don't know about you guys, but I have periods of time where I love gaming and I spend a lot of time gaming. Like I can bury myself into it for 100 hours and spend 2 or 3 hours a day at it. And then I just lose interest in it. And then I take a break for maybe a few weeks or a few days or a few months and then come back to it. So, but I think that's healthy kind of, because if you do that, if you can kind of just put it on a shelf for a little while, then I don't think you're addicted. Addicted would be, spending every waking moment at it and, you're avoiding everything else in your life. That would be certainly a bad addiction. And that could lead to other things, but, so could gambling, or so could, an interest in cars, or, clubbing on the weekends or whatever, right? So, everything in moderation, definitely. Everything in moderation. Oh, this is another great one. And this is another wonderful topic. Oh boy, I don't know what's going on lately with basic freedoms and all the rest of it, but the United States is thinking of banning TikTok. And I don't know if you listened to some of that congressional hearing with I believe it was the owner of TikTok, some of the Congress people who don't have really an idea at all about internet and the way apps work and all the rest of it. I don't think. It didn't seem like it to me. And someone chimed in, I think it was on this particular one, about they're in India. So in India, they banned it a few years ago. And that's what he was saying anyway. So it can definitely happen. But, TikTok, while it's toxic, and that's like any app though, it's like Facebook, Instagram, whatever. If you bury yourself in there and you get involved into it, Twitter's another one, and you just, can't get away from it, and you post all the time, and you try to win arguments all the time, and you're trying to post content all the time, it's going to be negative. It's going to really take a humongous amount of effort on your part, and a lot of it is negative, right? It's not positive, so it's not a good thing at all. But the whole idea with banning TikTok is because I guess it's a Chinese-owned company, and they say that they are stealing information from us. Well, so are the other media companies. Is Google any better? Is Facebook any better? Is Twitter any better? Probably not. Probably not. And from what I understand, a lot of this data is in data centers that are not in China. I think one is in Singapore and the other is, I think, in the United States. So I'm not sure if this is just somehow something to do with China and the US and what's going on in the world front right now, or if it's actually security related issues, because we all have smartphones for the most part, and that's tracking us. Every app on there is probably tracking us, pictures, audio. I mean, it goes on and on and on, right? So TikTok, I guess, seems like, you always got to go after someone or some company. So we'll see what happens there. But I think there's 150 million people in the United States alone on TikTok. And I suspect a lot of those people, the majority of them are probably decent people. There's only a few that really upsets the apple cart, right? And they get a lot of relief out of TikTok. It's a platform where you can go on there and watch stuff and listen to stuff and make comments and make your own content. So I think it's helped a lot of people. But yeah. Yeah, the lobbyists and stuff. Yeah, I mean, the elites and the corporations and the Congress people and all that stuff is no different really here in Canada. So, but it is what it is, I guess, And I got a funny feeling that they probably will in the US ban TikTok. But I don't know if you guys know what's going on over in France or not, but they're pretty upset over there over a lot of things. And probably more of this stuff will be happening in other countries around the world over the next year. We will see. Because we have a lot of stuff right now on our plate, right? We have COVID nonsense that happened and still going on, and all of everything that surrounds that. You have smart cities coming, smart communities, districts where people are worried they're going to be confined into, and they'll have to pay a fee if they, move or go out of the area over 100 times per year. Who knows what's going on there? Digital currency is just knocking on our door. That's probably a few weeks or a few months away in the United States and in Canada. Quantum computing is coming, along with AI, which is just blown up completely. I mean, that was given birth there publicly a few months really ago, and now it's something that's just incredible, but scary. All of this is very scary. And I mean, I could go on, but there's a lot of stuff in the world right now that's very unsure. It's a very seemingly unstable thing. And if you look at, the US dollar, the US currency, other countries kind of teaming up and moving away from the US currency, it would seem that a lot of countries also are starting to band together and, completely and utterly try to transition itself into some kind of other superpower. That's also scary. So I'm not trying to scare anyone here, but just be aware of this stuff, because a lot of people are not, and they don't want to talk about it. And when you talk about it to them, they think either you're, oh no, that's it's going to be okay. Don't worry. The government has our best interests at heart. Well, maybe, but maybe not. It's good to question things. It's good to research things. And that's something else too. Like, can you trust the general places where you do and search for things, whether you're going to get an accurate answer back or not? Who knows? You know? So, but conspiracy is bad for sure, right? But, and conspiracy, you know, is not, well, sometimes conspiracies turn into truths, right? So, but it is what it is. Well, that's enough about that. Let's move on to Windows 12. So, are you looking forward to Windows 12? Yes, I can't wait. Not really. Hell no. So I'm using Windows 11 right now, and I have to say I've had no problems overall with Windows 11. Now, I didn't jump on Windows 11 when it was in like an alpha state or nothing. I jumped on it when it was pretty mature and, you know, it was okay overall, and I played lots of games using Windows 11. I had no problems with it whatsoever. So, you know, a lot of people are really upset and figure that maybe Windows 11 doesn't work for them and they haven't even tried it, or maybe they gave it a shot and it didn't work for them, so they gave it up. Now, I understand that some systems you can't play Windows 11 on and all the rest of it, but Windows 12, well, that's going to be a whole different animal in my opinion, because they're going to rely upon a lot of AI in that operating system. So that could be a good thing. It could be a bad thing. I mean, there's AI a little bit in, you know, operating systems now anyway, but as AI progresses, it'll probably be an integral part and maybe make it faster, right? And it should, definitely should. So it's something to look forward to, I think. That's a good implementation of AI, right? It's not something that's going to take over the world, I guess. You never know, because... But that should be a very interesting operating system, Windows 12, I think. I think it's going to be pretty cool. I'm looking forward to it, how they integrate AI into that OS. All right, let me look through some of the comments here. Good. Some people know about all this stuff. I guess if you're following me and on my channel, you kind of know about it anyway, because I try and put it out. Things that I think are at least the facts. I'm not going to get into really a big heated dispute and debate about all this stuff, because, you know, I'm a mere mortal, a minion like you guys are, and I can't make any real difference, to be honest, you know. But that's probably a bad way to look at it, but, you know, well, what do you do? Yeah, true enough. I mean, Windows 11, you can turn off a few things. I've done that as well. I mean, some things are very annoying. I am finding, though, that Windows 11 is turning into more of an advertising platform, and that's something I'm not liking. Like, I'm not liking that at all. I mean, I have a Mac, right? An M1, and that's just a hardcore raw operating system that just works, and there's really none of that on there. So that's, I can see why people, you know, decide to move over to that particular operating system. Why I haven't completely and utterly, I would have, and I am thinking about it, but, you know, I have a system here. It has 3 displays. I mean, I can have a Mac with 3 displays. You can get the new Mac Mini Pro, I think it's the M2, and you can hook up 3 displays to that easily. But the gaming, right? What do I do for gaming? I have another system for gaming? No. I'd rather have it all on one system where I can do everything on one system. You know, I have the laptop, but that kind of moves around with me. If I want to go out to the park or go here, or go there, or go into a different room, I can bring that with me. But all right, so on to the, yeah, some people here are using Linux. That's good. I've tried Linux. I've tried Linux, and it's a different animal, isn't it? It's a different thing. I think you need to be committed and devoted to Linux, and but that's a good thing because you fall in love with it, kind of, right? You put a lot of time into it, learning it and understanding it and tweaking it, and yeah, I can see why. And it's free. And it's free. Ah, that black tea is good. And it's loose. Loose black tea. Right straight from India. Delicious. If you like black tea and you're drinking some kind of Chinese black tea, and you're thinking to yourself, man, this doesn't taste very well. This doesn't taste very good. This is horrible. I paid so much for it. Why? Just forget about it. Go to an East Indian store and grab some good loose tea. Make sure it says premium or gold on it, And all I do, I don't use one of those little steeping balls. I just throw it in. I throw the loose tea in my mug, throw in some water, stir it up, wait for 2 minutes, which you're supposed to do anyway, let the water cool down, and then you just sip it. It's almost better than coffee, which is something I don't drink a lot of. I have a couple coffees per week. For me, when I drink a coffee, I'm like, I turn into a fidgety, I'm like a fidgety fox. Okay, so, next one. Are you a dust clean freak? Now, okay, I'll read the questions. Yes, always dusting and cleaning my gear. I just put that in there more for a joke because, who's doing this all the time? I don't know. Well, 13% of the people are, and over 240 people voted, so... some are. Good for you. That's a good thing. That's wonderful. Keep things clean because dust can go inside your computer, can cause problems, with yourself and all the rest of it. So yeah, it's good to clean and dust. Absolutely. Only when required, which is what I suspected, and hardly ever also kind of thought that would be high as well. So the results here are pretty much on par. Myself personally, when I start seeing a lot of dust, I usually clean. I'm usually doing other things, right? It's not because I don't want to do it. Well, I don't really. Who wants to clean? Honestly, come on. Who wants to clean and dust everything all the time? Yeah, not me. But some people are like that, right? They have OCD and they have to. But if you have OCD about cleaning and all the rest of it, it can be a problem. I knew a person before, and her house was like a 5-star hotel. She didn't use the stove. She didn't use hardly anything in the house. It was immaculate. And she had a cleaning disorder, she was OCD about it, but to the point where really she couldn't enjoy, her home because it was so messy, so clean. She thought it was messy, but it wasn't messy. And she had to clean it all the time. So, yeah, but going to other people's homes, she didn't really care, a whole lot about them being clean. So that was just weird. But some people are like this, and I can see where it would be very troubling because you would spend a lot of your time cleaning and being too clean. Well, being too clean is not healthy for you either. I mean, you have to be clean enough, but you can't be too clean. We've had companies pushing, germ killers and Mr. Clean and all this other stuff on us for years, thinking that, yeah, everything should be immaculate all the time. There should be no dust around. No, if you wonder why there's been a rise in allergies and all the rest of it, it's because we're not getting out there and, being exposed to nature and all the pollen and, all the other things that are out there, the dirt and the things, like dust and all that stuff. If you're not exposed to it, you're not going to build up an immunity. And I don't have any allergies, knock on wood. I mean, I have a mild allergy, okay. towards dogs, but it's very mild. But other than that, and I had dogs when I was younger, so I don't know what's going on there. But so this kind of like Dr. Reynolds here, I'm not any kind of doctor, but what doctors can answer, the question about allergies? Probably none, right? It's a weird thing. It's definitely a weird thing, but I think it's better to be maybe exposed to some things more so than not. So if you keep things too clean and you keep things dust free all the time, that's not a good thing either, probably. So, yeah, most people just, clean when they have to, or when someone comes over, or they figure, oh my gosh, this is so messy, I can't handle it anymore, The lockdowns, yes, I think as well. That probably did a lot of people in and still doing them in because they've been convinced that they need to wear a mask. And if you wear a mask now for the rest of your life, boy, oh boy, oh boy, you are putting yourself essentially in a bubble. I mean, a mask doesn't stop everything, but it stops a lot of stuff. And if you continue to wear a mask every single day of your life, and that doesn't even touch on the fact of what's in the mask itself, because there's stuff in the mask, unless you're wearing a cloth mask, which if you're wearing a mask, I would recommend wearing a cloth mask and not one of these chemically induced powderized disposable masks, because those things are, well, disgusting. I can wear one of those for literally like maybe 10 minutes. No lie. I can wear one of those for like 10 minutes and the next day I have pimples come out all over my face. I mean, my skin is going, please, no. So I'm listening to my skin. Don't wear a mask, not anymore. Next question, yes. Which browser do you like? Chrome, Firefox, Safari, etc.? Myself, Chrome, mostly. However, I've been a Firefox fan for a very long time, since the beginning, a long time before Chrome, and I'm still using Firefox. So I have like a browser open on the right screen and a browser on the left screen, and I have Firefox on one loaded up with a bunch of stuff, and Chrome on the other one loaded up with a bunch of stuff. And of course I have a Mac, so I'll use Safari as well. So, but the majority of people here are using Chrome, and that's kind of what I expected. So how about you guys in chat? You guys using, what are you using? Yeah, UM is using Firefox. Oh yes, Netscape. Yeah, Netscape. I forgot about Netscape. Oh, that goes way back. How far does that go back? That goes back a long ways. From the beginning, right? Yeah, the Edge looks good. But still there's something about it that I don't like. It seems to commercialize somehow to me, but you can tailor the Edge browser as you like, right? But I think the Edge, especially with Windows 12, be more integrated within the OS and AI and all the rest of it. So, yep, all right, okay. This one here, I'm not going to spend too much time talking about this one, or maybe I will, I don't know, because sometimes I just get off on a tangent. How are we on time? I think we're okay. We've been recording now for 30 minutes or so. So another 30 minutes. April Fool's Day. How do you feel about April Fool's Day? This is a day that is very confusing, and I think it's become more and more so in this day and age, because a lot of people rely upon the media, and whether it be, local media, media online, whatever, as a source of information, and hopefully it's overall fairly accurate, but some people don't even know it's April Fool's Day, and they hear news and they believe it. And some of it's believable, to be honest. And, it's tricky. It's a really tricky day. It's a pretty tricky day. So you have to be careful. You have to be very, very careful on April Fool's Day. Just keep that in mind for next year, that on the day before, or maybe in the day after, or even the week after, there's going to be news articles circulating around, being pushed to your phone or wherever you gather your news, or however you have it set up to gather your news. Well, you might be getting fake news. And there were some doozies that I saw out there as well. And some of them were right off the top. Like, just, that's not going to happen. That would be impossible to happen. But yeah, it's a tricky day. It's a tricky day. So what are you guys doing this weekend? That's it for the questions that I'll be answering for the poll questions. That's pretty good. I went through that in a half an hour. Getting better at this. And by the way, I will be chopping up this live show, and I'll be doing this for all the live shows. Chopping them up, clipping them, and putting them in little shorts. So some of you who can't be here with me today, or some of you who choose not to be here because, well, it's a live show and you have to sit down, you have to commit yourself to it. And I understand that. I get that. That's fine. Can watch it, Some of the more, relevant, more interesting parts of the show, I'll clip them. And it's good content for me. It's oh yeah. All right. So any questions, guys? Any questions? Before I move on to the next part of the show here. I know a lot of you have asked, and you're maybe a little disappointed that I'm not doing reviews anymore because, well, I started the whole industry doing video reviews way back in the year 2000. But, it's something that I've made a decision on, and I'm going to probably stick to it for the most part because of all the time and the commitment and the whole thing with sponsors and and there's so many other reviewers that are out there now reviewing products and things. If I was to review products right now, I can tell you they probably would be in like a live show format or something where I would just review them and they would just be kind of like, in a way, quick and dirty, because to devote 10 or 20 hours reviewing a product, and that's what it takes. A lot of people don't realize that, but it takes a lot of time because, you want to produce content that's decent, right? I remember one of the videos that took the longest for me was a series, I think, on building a computer system, a water cooling rig from the ground up. That took me, I don't even know, man, weeks to produce. That was one of the hardest reviews I think that I've ever done. Okay, so let's go on to the next part of the show. And this is going to be heavily weighted towards AI because, well, AI is like the front runner right now and on everyone's mind, probably. Some people have created businesses based upon ChatGPT and consulting services based upon ChatGPT. And this is weird, man. This is just, I'm sorry, but you don't consider yourself an engineer if you're just entering text into an AI platform. Did you hear about this? Prompt engineers. You just need to spend 5 or 10 minutes somewhere on Discord or Reddit or something, and you can become a prompt engineer. It's not that hard to become a prompt engineer. You just enter the right prompts into AI, and AI does everything for you. But I guess you have to call it something, so why not call it prompt engineers? I just kind of find it kind of silly, to be honest. Well, thank you for that. Your reviews were golden back in the day. Back in the day, the good times. Yeah. was kind of like a bit of the Wild West back then, because, there was only a handful of people doing it. But now, you have to agree with me. Now it's just gone to a whole other level. So prompt engineers. What do you guys think about prompt engineers? Or have you even heard about prompt engineers? All right, so have you heard about this? Probably not, but you've probably heard about something similar to this. Scammers are actually using AI to fake people. Now, this could be in an audio format through a telephone call, or through some kind of media, through the media in a video format. And that's very concerning, obviously. So there was a case actually here in Canada where the parents got taken for 10 grand. So somebody sounding exactly like their son called, and they were asking for money, and it sounded exactly like their son. And of course, my son's in trouble, so, I'm going to kind of get him out of trouble and maybe send him some money. But after the fact, they discovered it wasn't their son, because their son said, "Well, it wasn't me, Mom." So somehow the AI trained his voice, and they called, and, they scammed her for 10 grand, which is horrific. So it's important to understand that AI can be used to fake anyone's voice and appearance. So keep that in mind. When you're watching anything online, when you're listening to anything online, question it, because deep fakes now can be done by anyone. So, if your son, your daughter, your mother, your father, your brother, your sister, your friend, anyone is calling you requesting something crazy or talking crazy, then it might not be them. So question it. And how you can really mitigate this is to have a passphrase or a secret word that only you and the other person would know. Keep the passphrase or, secret word obviously private, confidential. And when that happens, if it does happen, you can ask that person who's requesting, let's say, money from you, what's the passphrase? What's the secret word? And if they can't answer it, make it hard, make it difficult, make it a little weird, make it something that it's not mainstream, right? But if you ask them that question, they can't answer, then more than likely it's not them. So that's certainly a way around it. But it can't stop the fact that some other people can deep fake anyone. And that's on so many levels very concerning, especially for, people, elites, governments, heads of companies, heads of governments, people who are up there, actors, actresses. It's kind of scary, and the fact that almost anyone can do this right now is even scarier. So yeah. It is. I think it is. Someone else saying in here that it's going to lead to a lot of issues. It is definitely going to lead to a lot of issues, and scammers will love this. If you can just sound like someone easily by just taking 3 or 4 words, that's all AI needs, is just 3 or 4 words. And that's it. That's all they need. I created this image here. I created this image with AI. I typed in Easter weekend or something, bunnies. And this is what I came up with. These guys. Cute little guys. So, someone could say, "Oh, well, I took a picture of these bunnies." Now, there is something weird about this bunny. Have you noticed? There's something weird going on with this bunny here. What's this? What's this in the middle of its ears here? I'm not sure what that thing is. It's definitely not his tail. Or maybe it is. Yeah. So it's not perfect. However, this is using the very basic free version of the AI, but I don't know which one it is exactly right now. Mage, I think it is, that I'm using. And it's pretty basic, so it's going to bring up things like this. You can keep rerunning it though, and it will bring up better versions of this. But all right, so on to the next thing, and it's again about AI, and this is very scary. This is terrifying, actually. This is terrifying. So before I show the images to you on the screen here, I want to just give you some history on these images. So I don't know why I was searching for something on the internet about AI and how it's progressed over the last few months. And I was hoping to come across someone who maybe, you know, produced an image with AI like first when it started and now produced something recent. And somebody did. There's someone on Reddit, Mazzy710, Mazi 710, and he used Midjourney, and he prompted it 10 months ago to make a photograph of a woman with a hat. That's it. A realistic woman, a realistic photograph of a woman with a hat. And let me show you what it produced. So this is what it produced. That was 10 months ago. You ready? This is what it produced today. 10 months ago and today. So that's a big difference. Huge difference. Scary? Kind of. Kind of scary. Yeah. I mean, to go from this to that in 10 months is incredible, in my opinion. That's photorealistic. That's absolutely photorealistic. How much more realistic do you want than that? So you'll be able to, I guess, eventually be able to generate a character like this, put this character into a video, into a game. You know, how far are we away from that? A few months, maybe? A year? Who knows? So, wow. So yeah, scary, scary stuff. All right, so a couple other things here. I don't know if you heard about Google trying to cap the max. Google caps max of 5 million files in Drive, even if you've paid for extra storage, but they rolled back on it. I'm not sure why they were doing that. 5 million files is a lot of files, no doubt about it. But if you're paying for storage, then why would they be doing that? I mean, that seems a little crazy, to be honest, but you know, but that's what happens, right? First it's free, then you have to pay a fee, and then there's restrictions, and then it gets to the point where you really, why am I even paying for this anymore? And that's something that I've been reconsidering, because I am paying for storage on Google, not very much, but I'm paying a little bit. And it's not really enough to be concerned about, to be honest, per year. I think it's like, I don't know, $30 or something. And that's nothing, really. But these policies kind of, you know, for some people, you know, they kind of upset you, right? In some respects, because it's Google. Like, cutbacks, you're going to cut back on a few files. And the majority of people are not. If everyone there was using 100 million files, then it would be a problem. But that's not the case. There might be, you know, 1% that are using over 5 million. And the most other people are just using a few thousand images, right? I guess, people are taking more videos and more pictures, and there's more content, and there's more cloud storage being used than ever before. And I suppose maybe their systems are getting taxed. And, I don't know. I don't know what the reasoning is behind that, but I thought that was kind of silly, to be honest. You guys use cloud storage? Any kind of cloud storage? Even if you don't, you probably are using it. You don't even know you're using it. I mean, Microsoft accounts use cloud storage unless you disable it. Google does. I mean, Mac, you can do it. It's a little different there, but you can. Okay. All right, so the next thing here is kind of interesting, actually. It's about video cards, and this is data that's been pulled from Steam, and it's about the most popular video card. And this is something, I don't know, to me it seems a little bit on the low end, but that's the data that they have, I guess. So the most popular video card now, today, according to Steam's current data, is the GTX 1650. Now that's followed by the RTX 2060, the GTX 1060, and the RTX 3070. Now I would think that if you're a gamer, you're probably, you're not going to get much out of that GTX 1650. And you're really not going to get much out of that RTX 2060. However, if you get an RTX 3070, then that's a whole different thing. That's a whole different animal, for sure. And that's what I would recommend. And actually, I would go even further than that. If you can afford it, go to at least the RTX 3080. And that's still a great card to get. A lot of people are saying, well, if you have the money, just go ahead and get the 4000 series video cards. Well, yeah, if you have the money. That's a whole different thing. If you want to spend $2,000 plus on a video card. Although I did hear recently that NVIDIA is releasing the RTX 4070 video card, and that video card should be around $600 US. Now that's around $1,000 Canadian, which is pretty expensive for a 4070. It's faster certainly than the 3070, but I would want to wait at least until the price of the 4080 comes down. But if you price out systems now with a 4080 into it, holy goodness, it's very, very expensive. You're looking at $6,000-$7,000 just for the whole computer system. A lot of cost. That's a lot to pay for a gaming rig. That's crazy. I mean, yeah, I mean, if next gen updates on them, you need to have like the 4000 series in video cards to play them. Did you see this new update that came out for Cyberpunk? I mean, the 4090 is getting like 16 frames per second or something ridiculous. What? I mean, it looks great. It looks wonderful, but you can't play it. So what's the point? There's no point at all in that. So, yeah. Well, I think that's gonna kind of wrap it up for me here this morning, unless you guys have some further questions for me. Ricky, you have a 3080 Ti? That's a little better, yeah, than the 3080. So what are you playing? What resolution are you playing at natively with that card? I'm thinking maybe 4K. Yeah. Shouldn't be a problem for most games. I don't know, Cyberpunk on a 3080 Ti at everything, all the eye candy on, that would probably still be a problem. You're right. Ray tracing and now the soon to be integrated path tracing in a lot of games. It's wonderful if you're just kind of walking around and doing nothing, but if you're in a game and you're being active, then you really don't see a lot of all this fancy, wonderful eye candy stuff, to be honest. So you need enough turned on, but you know, it gets to a point where, you know, do you need it and do you see it? It's a massive, right. Ray tracing turned on in most games, especially when you're at 4K, is a massive hit. Now, of course, you can enable things like DLSS, which does give you a much better performance overall. But I don't really like using it, to be honest. It somehow degrades the image. It just, you know, why am I using ray tracing and using DLSS and degrading the image? To me, it seems like a countermeasure. I think it will get much better, and maybe the DLSS version 3, I think it is, with the 4000 series video cards, maybe that's better. It seems to be a little better, but you know, that's the issue with hardware and software and games and stuff, right? Everyone's pushing everyone else. So unless AI can fix this somehow and maybe write better drivers and better code and make it better, make, you know, DLSS a bit better. So if that can happen, then that's a good thing. All right, we're back. So I think I'm going to sum it up here now and call it a day. I hope you enjoyed the show. And we'll do the same thing again next Saturday morning. If you have anything else to add or any questions. Just a moment, guys. All right. I'm back. So we've been running here now for, well, the count looks like over an hour, so I'm going to sum it up. And yeah, so I hope you enjoyed the show. Again, there will be another one next Saturday morning, maybe a little earlier next Saturday morning. I'm not sure. Saturday mornings kind of work best for me overall. It does, you know, depending on what comes up on my side of it here. But other than that, it does work pretty well. So I will see you next Saturday. Thank you for tuning in. Remember to hit the notification bell. Make sure you subscribe. If you're on TikTok, go ahead and follow, like, and share. You can also consider buying a t-shirt, and I will see you in the next